Hey everybody, my name is Rob. I'm one of the elders and pastors at Hillside Baptist Church in Dickinson, North Dakota. Today on Video Devos, we're going to continue our slow walk through the letter Paul wrote to the church in Ephesus. Ephesians chapter 1, verses 5 and 6 say this: He, being God, He predestined us to adoption as sons through Jesus Christ to Himself, according to the kind intention of His will, to the praise of the glory of His grace, which He freely bestowed on us in the Beloved. Now that's a huge mouthful, and there's a lot of information there, and we definitely don't have time to cover it all in a short video like this. So I want to talk for just a minute about this word predestined. The word sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap, and it's the subject of some disagreement among Christians today. But it doesn't have to be. So rather than thinking deeply about it right now, because we don't have time, I'll just say that it means just what it sounds like it means. Okay, so this letter from Paul was originally written in the language of Greek, and the Greek word Paul uses here actually means to choose or to decide beforehand. So you can see why when it was translated into English, the translators used the word predestined. But what I really want to talk about today is the whole phrase here that God predestined us to adoption as sons. So now we all have some familiarity with the idea of adoption, and sometimes we can read this, and because we're already familiar with the concept, we can think of it as less than it actually is. We can think of it in a way that we say, okay, thanks, I guess, right? When this is actually a bigger deal than we can even fathom. But it only becomes a big deal in our minds and hopefully our hearts when we have a more accurate picture of who it is doing the adopting and just who it is being adopted. You see, we can fall into having this sort of low view of God when in reality, God is completely perfect in every way. He's completely righteous every time. He's completely holy, which is sort of another way of saying He's altogether different than us. God spoke light into existence. God was never made, so He's always existed. He's always been. Mind blown, right? God is omniscient, which is a word, it just means He's all-knowing. In other words, God can't learn. There's nothing possible for Him to learn because He literally knows everything from all times and at all times. In fact, time wasn't a thing until God started it. Because God is perfect and righteous and holy and blameless, every step we take against Him, every time we rebel or do the slightest thing wrong, it's an unimaginable crime against the God of all creation. Now, the bad news is that's all of us. Both Jesus and Paul said that everyone has sinned and that there is no one good except for God. So every human from all times who has ever lived is a criminal against the God of the universe. That's why the us in this verse we read is such a big deal. We're all criminals against the holiness of God. So when the verse says that God predestined us, it's specifically talking about believers in and followers of Jesus. And if that's you right now, or if that's something that happens to you later on, then this statement from Paul is something that is so big we can never fully understand it. Here's what it means. Here's the bottom line of this phrase. Are you ready? We've established that God is holy and perfect. And we've established that each time we step to the right or left of Him, it is sin. And since God knows everything, past, present, and future, He knew every mistake you would ever make. He knew every dark thought, every ugly moment, every immorality, every moral failure, every moment in your life when you would question Him, when you would fail Him, when you would worship other things or people. He knew every time you would look to marriage or dating or money or alcohol or drugs or parents or friends or career as the solution that would fix the problem in your life, rather than looking to Him and the sacrifice of Jesus Christ as the solution to the biggest problem any human will ever face. And if you've put your faith and trust in Christ, if you're someone who follows Jesus in your everyday life, then this means that before time as we know it even began, God, already knowing all the most terrible things about you, chose not only to love you and show you grace and to give you mercy for your crimes, but he went even further and made you his very children. He chose you for adoption through the sacrifice and resurrection of his own Son. Think about that and dwell on that throughout the rest of this week. And be thankful as you talk to and speak with God. As always, thanks for watching, and join God where he's working this week.